What is the best thing about Switzerland? I honestly don't know, but flag is a big plus. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hard Times Strongman Podcast. This is 6, and today we are going to be doing a Dadisode on how to change the oil in your car. I know it's such a simple task, but a lot of people just don't know how to do it. And they should. It should be one of the things that you're taught when you were young. Maybe your dad didn't teach you. Maybe he never had the opportunity. Who knows? But we're here to correct that today. So first things first, you need to gather your tools and your materials for the job. I'm going to provide a list here for you. Not all of it's necessary, but it is recommended. However, one thing that's not recommended and is absolutely necessary is that you get the right oil for your car. You can figure this out by either Googling it or by looking in your owner's manual of your car. If your car sits high enough that you can wiggle underneath it and do all this stuff without a jack or jack stands or a ramp, great. Otherwise, you're going to need a jack and jack stands, or you can use a ramp. Never, ever, 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 I can go on for years about this. Do not just use a jack to keep your car in the air. If you jack your car up, use jack stands. And when you're doing this, regardless if it's on jack stands or on a ramp, you need to chalk the rear tires. That car cannot move because if it does move, it will come down on top of you. You're also going to need gloves. You don't have to have gloves, but this is a messy job, so I do recommend having gloves. You're also going to need to have a set of wrenches. Don't use adjustable wrenches to remove your drain plug because, you could strip that thing. You're also going to need an oil pan so that you can collect the used oil. You're going to need, like I said, your engine oil that you're going to be replacing with. You're going to need a new oil filter. And if you need it, the oil filter gasket. Most of these oil filters these days come with a gasket attached to it. So it's just important for you to look up and see if your oil filter itself uses a gasket or if it doesn't. Also, a little tip about your oil filter. You can go and buy the cheapest oil filter available. Most people see all the different brands and different uh, levels of oil filters, and they're just like, screw it. Typically, an economy oil filter is only going to be good for around 3,000 miles. So if you use a better quality one, it will go for far longer than just 3,000 miles. Because let's be honest, vast majority of you don't change your oil after 3 to 5,000 miles. I guarantee it. This week's episode is brought to you by FieldSeats.com. FieldSeats.com is an e-commerce federally licensed firearms dealer. They provide virtual reviews on brand new firearms, optics, and gear, where at the end of the review, they give away the item being reviewed to an attendee.
Currently, they've got reviews ranging from the Shadow Systems MR920 for $35, the Springfield M1A for $65, or Chichicon ACOG with RMR for $60. Each review has limited seating, so your chances of winning the giveaway are that much higher.
Check out FieldSeats.com to purchase your reviews and enter to win the item being reviewed, and use code STRONGMEN to get 10% off your order.
Be sure to check out their Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at field_seats for updates on products and other tips and info.
Use code STRONGMEN to receive 10% off your entire purchase at FieldSeats.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Thanks for listening, guys. Now back to the episode. Stay in the fight.
If your engine is cold, go ahead and start it and let it run for like 5 minutes to warm up the oil. This will get all the contaminants that are also in there sitting at the bottom of your oil pan to mix in with the oil so you can get them out. If your engine's hot, wait about 30 minutes so that you're not getting burned when that oil comes out. So the first thing you're going to do is go under your vehicle, make sure you have the oil plug located, position your collection pan underneath it. But keep in mind that once you pull that plug, the fluid is going to spout out. It's not going to drop straight down. Make sure you aren't just positioning the pan center with the plug because the oil is just going to spill out onto the floor. If you have the opportunity to spread out like a plastic sheet, I would recommend doing that because if you do spill all over the place, you can just ball that thing up, throw it in the trash. Once you do that, unscrew the plug, and pull it out and away from the oil stream. Let the oil drain into the pan, and go ahead and clean off the plug because you don't want used oil and material going back into your oil pan. Check out if your drain plug has a gasket. Some do, some don't. If it does, go ahead and replace it with a new one. So pro tip here, before you pull the oil plug out, go ahead and go into your engine bay and unscrew the oil cap. Once your oil is done draining into the pan, go ahead and locate and unscrew the oil filter. This thing may come off pretty easy. It may not. It may not come off at all. If it's wanting to not come off at all, you can use things like a oil filter wrench. Some of these maybe look like a big, huge honking wrench. It may look like a metal circle with a handle, or it may look like it just fits over the end of the oil filter that you could use a ratchet on. I prefer that one actually. But regardless of what you use, remove the oil filter. If it's just stupid stubborn, you can use a screwdriver, hammer it into the side of it, and loosen it up that way. But keep in mind that there is oil inside of that oil filter. So if you puncture it, that oil is going to come out. So once that's done, your oil's all drained out. You're ready to put on your new oil filter. Once you do that, you need to open up your new oil, dab a finger in there, and take that new oil that you just put on your finger and run it around the gasket on that oil filter. This is going to help the oil filter gasket expand and seal with the car once it gets hot. Once that's done, hand tighten that thing back on. You don't want to use any sort of wrench to tighten it back on because you could strip it or you could damage the rubber gasket that's on there and cause it to not seal, which means you're going to have a leak. And that's an even bigger problem. So once that's done, replace your oil plug, get out from underneath the car, go up on top, and start pouring in your new oil. Make sure you're pouring into the right place because your oil going into the right compartment versus going into your windshield wiper fluid can make a drastic difference to how your day is going to go. Once you've poured in the new oil, you should know how much to put in there. And if you don't, check out your user manual or Google it online. There's a lot of resources online for how much oil to put in there. Once you pour that in there, you should have an empty oil canister of some kind. Use that to pour your old oil into. Once you're done with the job, go ahead and jump on Earth 911 and look up where you can take your used motor oil to be recycled. Just in my area alone, I have 4 places that I could take used motor oil within a mile of my home. So this is a great resource to utilize, whether you're trying to recycle used motor oil or anything else that could be a contaminant to the environment. Once all that's done, so if your car's on ramps, go ahead and remove the chocks, back it down, and you're good to go. If your car is up on jack stands, go ahead and put that jack back under the car, jack it up a little bit, remove the jack stands, lower it, remove the chocks, on your way. I know this is a short and sweet one, but honestly, changing your oil should take no longer than an hour. It's an hour of your day, and it could be the difference of saving hundreds of dollars versus taking your car into a dealership. We're here to make you guys more self-sufficient. Hopefully this is one of those times. Thanks for joining me today for this Dadisode on how to change the oil in your car. Check us out on Instagram at Hard Time Strongman Podcast. I am HTSM Podcast _6. Check out our newly released Patreon and Discord. We're also on Substack if you so choose to go on there. From all of us here at the Hard Time Strongman Podcast, stay safe and stay in the fight.